How's it going, guys? This is the Core 3 from FightingGamesOnline.info, and I am back with another first look. Coming into their second year, Street Fighter V has released their first big update. It has been dubbed Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, and really this is probably the most fitting name for this update, as it features something that fans have wanted in the game since it released back in 2016, and that is an arcade mode. So I figured, why not just do a first look and give my initial impressions of this latest update, as I thought that they had some nice, interesting features that I wanted to take a look at. So in this latest first look, I'm going to talk about what this new update brings to the table. We'll talk about the Season 3 DLC characters, and then I'll just give you a few of my final thoughts. So before I get into details about this latest update, I want to do a quick rundown of the new features that have been added. So this latest update features an arcade mode, extra battle, team battle mode, which is an offline mode, new V-triggers for the entire cast, and a new training mode option. So let's probably talk about the most awaited feature, which is the arcade mode. This is a new approach to an old favorite. The arcade mode is bringing some nostalgia back in some very interesting ways. This mode features 5 different arcade modes, each one representing a chapter in the Street Fighter series. With each mode, you essentially get a representation of characters who are kind of a part of each of the series. So for example, if you start the first mode, which is supposed to represent the first Street Fighter, you will see characters who were originally a part of the first game like Ken, Ryu, and Birdie. You'll also see placeholders such as Balrog, who is taking the place of Joe, and I believe Zeku, who is probably taking the place of Geki, who is also a ninja. Now each mode comes with multiple endings for each character, and I'm not exactly sure how this works, but just trust me on this one. The ending of each mode is done in some sort of comic book style, and I believe some things are canon, and others are probably just giving you an alternate scenario. So I believe there's over 200 endings for this mode, and they save them in a gallery so that you can go back and look at them when you feel like it. Now what you also get, and I think this is definitely a nice added touch, is a remixed version of the theme music that came from each game in the series. They also make use of some of the nostalgia story costumes and remastered stages that were DLC and fit them within the context of each mode. Honestly, I think this is a great idea. I like where they're going with this, with emphasis on where they are going with this, because it could lead to some very overjoyed fans, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Now the second added mode is the extra battle mode, and honestly I'm a bit conflicted about this one. It's an interesting idea. Capcom will add a new challenger. I believe it will be weekly or bi-weekly that you can go against. It's just a one-round match. If you win, you get a nice bonus like a leveling up or fight money, but there's just a catch. It requires fight money. 1,000 fight money to be exact. And here's the other thing, it's per match. That means if you lose, you have to spend another 1,000 fight money. This is sort of a red flag for me, because what you're doing here is a risk, or better yet, it is a gamble. I really think Capcom may want to reconsider how this works. I can already hear the stories about players losing all of their fight money against the CPU, and maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I think Capcom may want to rethink this one. So the first character they have decided to feature in this mode is none other than Shin Akuma. Now I fought him twice, and I did get bodied. Certainly not unbeatable, but I wasn't ready to stake more fight money on it. I think it's a great mode for people with tons of fight money to spend, but I would err on the side of caution if you are just starting out. If you have never played Street Fighter V, fight money is an in-game currency that you can earn by doing various activities and will allow you to purchase characters, stages, and costumes. And I'll go into some more details about this later, but for now, please rethink this one, Capcom. Now the team battle mode has returned once again. It was introduced in Ultra Street Fighter 4, but it's now just offline only. And the biggest difference that I see from the Ultra Street Fighter 4 version is that the options now involve you deciding how much V-gauge meter or EX meter you can retain for each new match. It's going to certainly be an interesting thing to see if this gets used at tournaments, because there's always a team tournament going on, so I wonder if they're going to use this option. Now let's talk about another big addition to this update, which is the new V-triggers. Everybody is getting a second V-trigger. V-skills and V-reversals are going to stay the same. Definitely seems to give players some nice options, although I think some characters actually benefit more from their second V-trigger than others. I think Ryu certainly got a nice V-trigger, which essentially works like his V-skill except much better. It puts your opponent into a crumple state, which means you can follow up with an attack. I feel like just this one thing makes Ryu potentially better than he was before, but he actually has new options and new special moves that make him a whole lot better. So yeah, he's going to be a good character. Now let's talk about the new training mode option, and I think Capcom has definitely upped the ante with this new option. This latest option lets you know how much frame advantage you have when you land a hit or your opponent blocks. Now if you've had a hard time figuring out how frame traps work or what attack you can use to frame trap someone in general, this will definitely help you a great deal. You can even use this to figure out what basic attacks will allow you to link into other attacks. They have also added frame information to the attack data option, so you can see your frame advantage or disadvantage in actual numbers. I really have to give Capcom some props on this one. These are the type of tools I feel that designers need to give players to help them get a much deeper understanding of how both the character and the game works in general, and this will also get players out of the training mode room and into actual gameplay so much faster, so a great addition to this update. So of course there is going to be a future to this update. Season 3 DLC characters have been announced, all of them were revealed, and up until this point, Capcom had usually chose to keep the characters behind silhouettes, but given the state of all the reveals that were going on from other fighting games last year, they felt compelled to up the ante, and I think they made the right choice with this one. So Sakura is the first Season 3 character that is going to be available. Capcom was nice enough to let players test her out for a limited time. You will have to either have purchased the Season Pass, make a direct purchase, or collect fight money in order to have her outright. Honestly didn't know how to feel about her look. She was so young for so long. They have given her this new mature look, and it definitely takes some getting used to, I'll be honest with that. There's nothing really new in terms of her specials. Harukaze is now tied to her V-skill, and it gives her a few options to throw off your opponent. Her V-triggers. Her first V-trigger is similar to Ryu in that it powers up her fireballs throwing characters in a knockdown state. But I think her second V-trigger is probably going to be a lot more useful. Her second V-trigger allows her Dragon Punch and her spinning kick to sort of act like an EX version. Her spinning kick in particular actually creates a juggle state that allows her to follow up with a V-skill. And based on this, I see a lot more players getting a lot more mileage out of this trigger because of that. I think Sakura players are probably going to be happy with her. She does have a lot of potential to be a very good character, so we'll have to see, but yeah, I think so. I think she's going to be a good character. Now the second character that got revealed was Blanka. He'll most likely be the next up. That is if they stick to doing what they have done traditionally. It's definitely nice to see another original Street Fighter 2 character back in the mix, so that is a good thing. Now there's also Falk, who is going to be a new character. Not much revealed on her outside of the fact that she wields a staff. I'm feeling a very strong Relento vibe, but it's only based on the staff alone, so we'll actually have to see what happens with that. Cody, who I thought was probably one of the more exciting reveals, is definitely sporting a nice fresh look. I wasn't really much a fan of his Street Fighter incarnation, but I'm definitely glad to see him back in the roster, and I can't wait to see what he's going to bring to the table. Now there's also another new character that goes by the name of Just G. The character who kind of looks like an Uncle Sam caricature. For a second I thought he was going to be a final boss. It'll be interesting to see how he fits in the story, and more importantly, what he'll actually do. Now we saw his premium costume, and it kind of looked like Q from Street Fighter 3. So I'm really interested to see what he has or what kind of tie he might have to Q. Last but not least, we have the grand return of Sagat. Emperor of Mutai has come back, one of the most requested characters outside of Sakura, and I'm kind of hoping that he will be the next character. No disrespect to Blanka mains. We will most likely be seeing them get released periodically throughout the year. That's kind of how it's always been. But one can hope that maybe they'll kind of speed things up this time around. So that is pretty much it for my detail of this new update. I like where things are going with this new update, especially with the arcade mode in particular. I think if Capcom rolls this out like I hope they will, it can certainly win some people over. They have definitely kept to their words, sort of, because they did promise that no more additions, but this is more of an update, and I purchased the game day one so I can attest to this. Overall, I think people are actually happy with this new rollout. It's definitely a nice refresh, though I really wish that there was an uptick in the way they are rolling out characters. I feel like there should at least be 12 characters per season, and I know that's a lot to ask for, but right now, this is not enough to really keep me personally interested. There are so many characters that I personally enjoy that are not in the roster right now, and it's like planting a seed in the dead of winter. It's very unlikely you will ever see your favorite return, and you're still going to have to wait to see if it's even a possibility, but I digress. Street Fighter V Arcade Edition is now available. If you have not purchased this game yet, you can purchase a full version of the game either digitally or physically. The full version comes with Season 1 and 2 DLC characters and additional content for free. And full transparency, I don't even have half of the characters from either season. So this is definitely nice if you're purchasing this game for the first time. You will of course have to pay or use fight money for anything incoming DLC wise, but you definitely have a good start here. Now if you already own a copy of Street Fighter V, Arcade Edition is a free update, but it does not unlock any of the Season 1 and 2 DLC characters, costumes, or stages. With that being said, you can still enjoy all of this in the arcade mode, as it's going to be there for free, so you can kind of enjoy it, at least get to look at it. So that is it for this first look. I hope this latest episode was an informal one, and stay tuned because more content is certainly on the way.